Hey, everybody, we're waiting on Mike Day to show up. He's on a bike ride right now. So we'll be right back. Just give us a few minutes and we'll go live with Mike Day, Navy SEAL, who was shot 27 times. 27 times. Just going to need a few minutes for him to finish up his workout because that's live podcasting for you. But we will definitely have him. And then after that, Michael Reagan from the Reagan Legacy Foundation, who is Ronald Reagan's son, talking about Memorial Day and veterans from World War II, that kind of thing. So a packed morning of shows and things. Here's Scott over here. They can't hear you, but he's going to point. We're going to get things set up. We'll be back in a few minutes. Just give us a few, and then we'll be cooking up here pretty quick. All right. Thanks, everybody. Hang in there.
Hi. We're not live right now.
Okay, I didn't want to interrupt.
Hop in. You can podcast bomb.
Huh?
You can pod bomb. That's what we like.
I don't know.
Hi, I'm Scott.
Hi, Shelby.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
All right. Shit is crazy today. All right. Trying to make things happen. Need to get a couple more things sorted out. We're still working on some technical stuff. We'll be going here in a minute. Just need a chance to get the final thing set up. Hang in there, everybody. We'll be ready to go soon, and hopefully Mike will be off his bike ride in a few minutes. Stand by. All right. We got Echo 6, Longhorn 6, Scott Husing over here next to me. This camera here, but I can also bring this camera here.
Cool. Put my bougie shades. Can I put my bougie shades on? I'm not trying to be bougie. It's sunny out here. Are we in Santa Ana?
Yeah, I think we're almost in orange. Orange is right there, so that's really close. There's a little bit of a lag. It's kind of fun. So we're going to have Mike Day on, whose book came out. You've read it. I've not read it yet.
I did read Mike's book called Daylight, which is Mike Day's story. Amazing, co-written with another good friend of ours, Robert Vera, who also wrote another Navy SEAL story about Ryan Job called The Warrior's Faith. Amazing best-selling book. So when they finished it, they reached out to me and they asked me to read it and do a blurb for the cover, which I was extremely honored to do. And I tell you, man, I just read through the story, and I won't give any of it away because I think it comes out next year through 12 books. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Mike's process writing it, all the stuff, talk about his, warriors and writers and getting the story told. But I met Mike through Robert. because Robert and I were linked up through another good friend of ours, Josh Mons.
Right.
So the circle just continues to grow. But
What? Tell us about the publishing company that's doing his book, because that's such a incredible look to get into that thing. It's not just a top tier publisher, but it's the top tier within the top tier.
Yeah, so
Hachette
publishing company is a massive publishing firm, and then they have an imprint called 12 Books, and it's just that 12 books. They only publish 12 of the best books that they believe in, and they dedicate an entire month throughout the year to that title. So we've had guests like Sebastian Younger on his best-selling book Tribe has been on there.
Dan Crenshaw.
So for Mike to make that list, I think speaks volumes to Mike's story, Robert's writing ability, the teamwork that those two brought together on the project, and to have it as a 12-book deal in the publishing world is something. I don't think it gets much better than that, and I don't think a lot of people in the public really understand that. To get your book in a publishing company, I think your chances are better of
getting in the NFL than getting a book published through a mainstream publishing house and
having it sit on the shelves at Barnes and Noble. Statistically, obviously, everyone's not drafted to the NFL, but we know those guys do.
So the comparisons are there, but he's really excited about the story. We met as they were putting the chapters together. Me, Bob, and Mike. We linked up down in Coronado one morning, and this is kind of the early stages before they even had the deal. And Mike was back in his old stomping grounds in Coronado there, where Navy SEALs get trained. And we were talking through just that transition process. The business of writing, the business of marketing, and putting yourself out there. And that's one of the things I love about Mike is he's so raw and unvarnished, and just really tells it like it is. And this story is absolutely one of those stories. It's not this shoot 'em up, hey, look at me, I'm a tough guy SEAL book. It is Mike's story. So, again, you'll see a picture of the cover has Mike on there. It looks like this badass Navy SEAL. But I tell you, man, and again, I don't want to give too much away of the book because you got to buy it when it comes out. And we'll let Mike talk a little bit more about the details of the story. But man, I think I read that book in a day. They sent me the manuscript, and I'm sitting there on my computer. I'm just scrolling through, and for me to read a book in one day it's a significant accomplishment for me because I have acute short attention span theater disorder.
Right.
So yeah.
Talk about Bob Vera as a co-author as well.
Man, I tell you, every time, and you've heard me say this too about Bob, and we've been on the show together. Every time I talk to Bob, his background is he's a civilian, never served in the military. And he's not one of those guys who suffers from this patriotic guilt or anything. He just has a deep affection for our nation's veterans, and I love picking up the phone and calling Bob because I know that every time I do, it's going to be like at least an hour of my time. I know before I even hit the green button, I got an hour because it's a little bit of therapy, it's a little bit of business advice, it's a lot of friendship, and even more love when I talk to Bob Vera because he's just got an amazing perspective. He's not only a great writer and communicator, but he's spent a big part of his life on stage as well, sharing his message of business and inspiration and writing and leadership. He's just a remarkable guy who's done countless things for the nonprofit sector. He's kind of a total package. When you think about guys we surround ourselves who are positive influences. I think whenever I don't know, maybe when I ever hit one of those low points or I'm maybe feeling sorry for myself, I think Bob's probably one of the guys I call. And it's not like we grew up together or we served together, but it's just, again, one of those connections where I'm just really fortunate to have a guy like Bob, available to me in my network where I can reach out, and he always picks up the phone, man. I just can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah, it's quite the writing team, because Bob has other books he's written about other warriors, and he gives and gives and gives. It's always great when I talk to him as well. And he's a busy guy, so when he gives you his time, you're just like, man, I can't appreciate. It's fantastic. How have you been doing, COVID style?
Well, this may be the first podcast where Pete told me to put. He goes, "Hey, bring a hat because it's sunny out." I think Pete was embarrassed because I've got this COVID hairdo going on, but no, we're here in Santa Ana and sunny. We're sitting by the pool, but besides the hair that did break down a beard, but I've been getting a lot done at my ranch, playing catch up and doing some writing, working with Jason Piccolo on his writing and his book, trying to get published. So just staying at it. I think I'm really lucky living where I live because I'm somewhat isolated in general, as you know. So I don't feel that, the heightened anxiety that everyone does up here in LA or New York. When I talk to people in Chicago or Miami, I just, I feel bad for that type of pressure that they must be feeling. But, I also feel bad for the vast expanse of businesses and small businesses where the service industry is just getting crushed with this pandemic. I mean, and it permeates everything we talk about. I'd venture to say every podcast you've done, it's come up.
Absolutely.
That we've been talking about, it just has permeated everything in our discussions because it really does. But I think, I'm lucky, to be able to work from home, to write, to, hang out and do podcasts with you. And, but I also remember when I was in college, after I was enlisted, the financial struggles of being a young college student. I was a little older than the average bear, but I was donating blood plasma just to keep the lights on. I mean, I lived on my own. I wasn't eligible to live in the dorms. So every Tuesday and Thursday, man, I was donating blood plasma, and it was great because you're on an empty stomach, you're not eating a lot, and then you go out, you got $20, and I think you got like $40 at the end of the week, and it's tough for these people in the service industry, hotels, maids, food service workers. I mean, that's just. Hopefully, there's going to be a tidal change here, soon, but I think it's going to be slow rolling. I don't think it's going to be a tsunami where we just flip the lights and things go back to what we remember as normal. But what's cool is this technology. This is nothing new to us.
Right.
I see people who initially, when this started, where we're doing remote business, remote education, for guys in the military, for guys in the podcasting or the media, this is nothing new to us. It was kind of funny because I'd see conversations where people would struggle with the technology. The first 20 minutes was, hey, do you see the microphone button at the bottom? Okay, yeah, click that. And then now people just snap in and they get right to business. So I think this is really, I think there's going to be some positive things that come out of it. I like talking about the positive things. I think that businesses can actually expand by using remote capabilities. In the military, we're familiar, we call it distributed operations, where we could have 3 amphibious ships in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and command, 2,000 troops and be in 7 different countries, all with a radio and a keyboard, and not miss a beat and still be effective. And I think that's a real leadership lesson too for, I think, CEOs, operations managers, where they have to put their trust and develop their subordinates who are running maybe smaller businesses or smaller departments, that they know they're making money for the companies, they're bringing in the clients, and they're all doing it from their patio, just like we're sitting here today podcasting. So I don't know, man. I think there's probably some good things, because at the end of the day too, the business could get bigger and you're not paying retail lease space for businesses and having these massive storefronts. So I don't know.
I decided to move so I could look at you when we were talking. It's sort of practice to, because I'm going to be taking the live aspect on the road now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to sort out what this means. And I'm realizing that when you talk, your real-time voice is probably hitting my microphone. And then it's also arriving later into the phone. There's like a little latency problem there. So I've got to check this out. And these are things that I'm worried about as I elevate the show, take it to video, and man, we've got so many incredible people coming up. The COVID thing has been, it's always with the technology. Mike's calling. Will you call Mike on your phone?
Yeah.
Mike called on the phone, which shut my phone off. Tells me that I have to account for that too if I use kicks you out of the BBR there. Just hilarious. Yes.
What are we telling Mike?
Tell him to check his email. There's a link in there.
Hey, what's up? Did you check your email?
Did you just check your text?
He said check your text. No, well, Pete's phone is on the tripod because he's using his video.
Well, I don't have. What I said to him was your browser doesn't support streaming or technology. So you can download Chrome. You gotta download Chrome, Firefox, or Opera.
Okay.
I'll call you back after I download Chrome.
Okay. It should just take a couple minutes, brother.
All right.
Okay. Better.
Comms. So I didn't hear what he said exactly.
He's got to download Chrome or Firefox, and then
Okay.
it's always something.
Yes. So let's really quickly talk about Mike's background because it's one of the incredible things about who he is and what he's done. He was a SEAL. That's already incredible.
Yeah.
Deployed a lot, like all those SEALs did. But he was shot 27 times in one gunfight and blown up with a grenade. Holy shit.
It's hard to imagine that everyone in the country doesn't know Mike's story. They will soon when the book comes out. But again, it speaks to Mike's humble nature. You see him sitting in a restaurant or a Starbucks, and you just like, who's this guy? Normal, looks like this burly construction worker looking dude, and he's just not. He doesn't wear a T-shirt that says "I was Special Forces." There's Mike doesn't feel there's anything special about him. I think he feels very fortunate, but his life story that's captured in the book between him and Bob is just. I mean, I think it's a real insight into how people like Mike become SEALs, not how the military trains people, but what people innately look for when they join the military and they sign up and volunteer. I'd love to tell the audience. I can't wait when the book comes out and they launch it to have Mike on after this conversation and really talk about the success of the book, because I think it's just going to be phenomenal. So,
yeah, it's his story is so impossible. And he is such a mild-mannered guy. The fact that he got shot 27 times and survived. The thing I always wonder is, once the book comes out, what brands are going to approach him and be like, please be our spokesman? Like DeWalt Tools. Nothing's tougher than me, except for maybe my DeWalt drill.
We talked about that. We'll hit Mike up on the show. He's got some interesting perspective on that, and we've had some conversations about brand and product endorsement that's tied to not only his service but his survival during that firefight when he was shot 27 times. But we'll let Mike talk about that.
Well, we're going to take a real quick break. I want to work on this feedback problem. We'll be back in a few minutes. Bye.
Anybody hear me? I'm not in this chat thing either. I don't hear anything. Volume's up.
This won't sound as good, but this will make it. All right. This is still connected. I have to kank that. Okay. I think we're cooking now, man. I think we're done. This is ridiculous. We're low on time, but man, I appreciate you coming on here with us and hanging out. What's going on with you, Mike?
My book releases 9 June, so I got a bunch of stuff going on with that. Just moved into a new place, just got my office set up, working on it.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time I've done a show with the co-host live in person since the whole COVID thing broke out. So we've had some technical difficulties. You can't hear him.
I can't hear you.
Aha. Okay. I can give you one of these.
No, that's gay.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
We're working on solving all of the problems here in this end. Either way,
I've been doing Zoom calls.
Yeah, it's a fancy Zoom call that pushes things out live to the whole world. So it's kind of funny. So the book comes out on June 9th, you said, and we were talking earlier, co-authored with Bob Farah. Were you happy with the book totally? Or did you feel like we could have spent another 6 months writing it? That's a common question we ask people.
No, I think it's exactly the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Were you? You're a private guy. You're not a big boaster. How do you feel about putting your story out there? You know, the silent service that you guys all do.
Well, what I want to put out there more is about healthcare and building resiliency than to tell a war story. My story's got very little bit of a war story. Fortunately, I got shot 27 times and people want to listen to me. But.
Yeah. You got shot 27 times. Why healthcare? Why does that resonate with you?
Because when I got out, I worked for the Care Coalition for about 7 years and saw how terrible it was and how reactive it was to just symptoms and not actually dealing with the actual cause of the illnesses. So our healthcare system is, I say it's terrible.
The healthcare system is terrible. Yeah. Well, I was thinking the other day, kind of talking so Scott can hear a little bit because I haven't figured out how to give him headphones yet. But
a splitter.
We have I've got 2 splitters. I need another splitter. It's weird that your kid can be 26 years old and all of a sudden they get kicked off of your policy for some fucking reason. Like that doesn't make any damn sense. You know, like your kid's 26. They're less of a risk medically than you are, and as a middle-aged person. Why? It just doesn't make any. We just do so many things. So, it's not a system anybody would design.
Well, I mean, my idea for social medicine, if I do happen to run for governor, and they want social medicine, it'll be based upon your lifestyle. Your premium will be based upon your lifestyle. I'm fairly healthy. I have my vices too, so I'll pay my premium for doing tobacco. But if you're diabetic and it's nutritionally driven because of what you do to yourself, you shouldn't have the same premium as me. I mean, I'm not going to get diabetes because I don't eat sugar.
Yeah, you eat sugar. Yeah.
I'm probably not going to get cancer because I don't eat sugar.
Yeah.
And there's ways that the things that I discovered in my own healthcare going through this process, post SEAL teams, I got to observe hundreds of cases from combat injuries to cancer to, ALS, all kinds of different treatments and what worked and what didn't. And I can say right now that the healthcare system they diagnose you based on a number on a test that says you're sick or you're not. And if you're sick, you take this medication, which has symptoms, which you got to take more medication for to treat the symptoms for the medication. And then you still have the illness, like type 2 diabetes. I actually induced type 2 diabetes in myself because I didn't understand this. Because I was intaking so much sugar and through supplements, too much Gatorade, Cliff Bars. Because
Gatorade. We lived on Gatorade, Cliff Bars, and energy drinks, right?
Yeah, and goo, just bunch of high, and quite honestly, a lot of that's probably synthetic sugars and dyes and all kinds of stuff that's bad for you. But when I changed my diet,
you're thinking about running for governor?
Yeah, if somebody that's not worth it can go do it. I really don't want to, but
so is that going to be your platform? I'm the guy that doesn't want to, but someone's got to do better than this person.
Well, I think most people would agree. I think the best person to be a politician is somebody that doesn't want to be one.
I have to pass that on to Scott because I'm sure he'll have a comment. Mike was saying that the best person to be a politician is the person that doesn't want the job, but they're doing it because it's the right thing.
I think that is vastly indescriptive of every politician because they all want it, man. They all want to be in it. Like, have you ever seen what's the show House of Cards?
Oh my gosh,
they're all contriving to jockey for position, and there's not a single person highlighted in 6 or 7 seasons they didn't want the job or stab someone in the back. I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting. I think most people want to vote for a guy like Mike, who's raw and unvarnished, tells it like it is. But in that business, in that sphere, I don't think there's a very high survival rate. I mean, Dan Crenshaw's really setting the stage for that. But I think there's a balance for sure.
I've actually talked to Dan about this because he has a skill set that I need to acquire. I know how he does it. Well, kinda. He just doesn't get rattled.
Yeah.
He doesn't get mad. And
he doesn't get rattled. Yeah.
And did you see him on Bill Maher? That was hilarious. Have you seen that?
Yeah, and he was on our show here, and it was great because we were able to have a conversation, about the book, but about also his philosophy to communicating why he makes a given decision. We didn't vote on this bill because these other things were in it. If we take these things out, now we have a bill that's on topic, and I appreciate that about it. And who else we've had on the show is also a fellow operator, Mike Waltz out of Florida, former Green Beret, who's been a diplomat. Either way, he has that. That Q course vibe. He's done the hard work of pushing past his physical limits, and you're not going to outwork, Dan Crenshaw. You're not going to outwork Mike Waltz. Like, if nothing else, those guys are going to not be defeated by a problem.
Well, I wouldn't say lazy, but yeah, they probably got more drive than I. But you know what? It's usually better if you're in charge of something to keep the lazy, smart people and get rid of the ambitious, stupid people.
Get rid of the ambitious, stupid people, he says, and keep the hard-working, dumb ones. You're right.
No, keep the smart, lazy ones and
keep the smart, lazy ones and ditch the dumb,
the ambitious, stupid ones.
Gotcha. Mark Azevedo's buddy of mine says President Crenshaw.
Yeah, I think he'd probably be good. But when he was on Bill Maher, I did see him get a little frustrated in that one eye.
He got frustrated in his one good eye. Yeah. But, I mean, it's too hard of a job, man, to be governor and be like, I don't want to do it, but I can do it better than the person there. You got to do better than that, man. You can't just say, doing it to spite somebody else. Why do you really deep down want to do it?
It's not to spite them. I think we should have term limits. I don't think they should. I think they should go through a much stricter evaluation system. It was harder for me to get in the Navy as an E-nothing than in a lot of these people in office that get no background investigation. So I would suggest that everybody that's going to be a politician that has access to secret or top secret information, you better have a damn polygraph test done,
SF-86.
a polygraph. And if your national level information, you got access to that, you're doing a lifestyles just like the rest of us.
Yeah. Mike's talking about the credentials for getting a clearance. You have to put basically your entire history, who your mom was, who your dad was, what year they were born, all of your financial troubles, everything goes into this form. And then also, like, we don't believe you, so we're going to hook you up to a polygraph and ask you questions about your lifestyle and that kind of thing. And you're right. It's remarkable that, like, it's just, not to pick on her, but Katie Hill, had an open freak flag flying experience before she was a representative of Congress, and then acted like, oh my gosh, how did you guys find out about this? Whatever. Like, if you do those things, you have a past. It's awfully hard to get elected if you're not going to, lead an electable life before that moment. Who cares if you got a freak flag? But it gets harder. People care when you represent them.
Well, what you've done in the past does matter. I mean, everything can be forgiven, but I mean, if you got a pattern and a history of just doing dumb shit all the time, yeah. The reason why they do polygraphs and lifestyle exams is to see if you're susceptible to being bribed or blackmailed.
That's right.
Because you have,
yeah.
And if you could be exploited, then you shouldn't have access to that information.
Yeah. Why governor? Why not go represent your district, do the Dan Crenshaw path? Why do you want the top job in the state?
Well, I kind of like synchronicities and little signs that happen in my life. That the one that happened here, I woke up one day and I saw all the laws that were passed on the Second Amendment stuff. I saw all the laws that our governor had passed on the Second Amendment. Quite honestly, I don't even know if I'm a criminal right now. But he did that when we're all in lockdown. Well, the Republican primary here is 9 June, which happens to also be the release date of my book. And I was like, man, that's a sign.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're under like Orwellian control. It's kind of weird though, because people are going out. Like, we went to the beach, the oceanfront this weekend, and it was crowded.
Yeah.
Energy was kind of crazy, and I keep hearing sirens going by this neighborhood, even though we're supposed to be in lockdown. So it's weird. There's restaurants that are open and things, but we got so far away from governing from our governing documents. The governor thinks he has more control. I think Trump, and I wasn't always a big Trump fan, and still, I mean, I wish that guy would be a better statesman, but geez, if I run, I'm going to be worse than him. I probably.
You're going to be a worse state. Well, luckily you don't have as much state work to do at the multi-state level. You just got to take care of Virginia. How hard is it going to be for you to get the signatures to get eligible to run?
I don't think that'd be that hard. I mean, I've already got a campaign manager that has lines to funding for the run, so I've got a. I hope he's not mad at me, but I have an executive coach that's going to teach me how to be a little bit softer around the edges.
What? You're going to lose your hard edge?
Nah, it's still
you're just going to play like you don't have one. Okay.
It's going to have to shave the beard too.
I'm going to.
It's going to be a tough one, man.
I shaved it down already.
Oh wow, that's already shaved down. He said.
You guys made me lose my train of thought there.
Oh, well, just you had your executive coach trying to teach you how to be more governor-like.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I've done a lot of fundraisers, and I've worked a bunch of organizations, nonprofits, and the Navy SEAL Foundation is actually offering me speaking classes. And my publisher wants me to take some media training, which is basically speaking classes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It can only help, but
it can only help. And even if you don't get it this time, if it's a two-step process and you try it this time and then come back for reels next time, I mean, whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like if the goal is that, you don't necessarily get it the first crack. I mean, history is full of politicians who, I mean, hardly ever does someone win every election they're in. So, and if it takes perseverance, now you got that in spades.
Hey, Mike, I think it's interesting. Just watching and listening. I think from a couple of years ago, when we were sitting in a cafe at Oceanside with Bob, chipping away at your book, and then from then to now, we always talk a lot about improvement and change and transformation. I mean, I can tell with you just when I listen to you talk and the progress you're making and the goals you're setting now. It's like, how do you see yourself from then to now, and then leapfrogging again? Best case scenario, you do get elected to public office. What then? I mean, how do you feel personally as someone that's changing, that's evolving or improving, whatever word you want to pick?
Well, another reason why I decided to do that and strongly consider running for office is because I'm kind of scared. I can't believe how easy this whole planet was locked down to a virus that doesn't have a mortality rate to merit the response. I mean, we lose more people to the flu every year than we lose to this thing. It's essentially just another flu, and the professionals, the information that they're putting out is wrong. I mean, this whole mask thing, the microbiome is so small it passes right through. You have to have a proper mask to filter out the size of that microbiome. You just can't do it. As a matter of fact, you're catching more in your face by wearing a mask if it's not the proper mask. It's like I've been saying, it's like trying to stop mosquitoes with a chain link fence.
Yeah. And the other thing is as we get a better handle on the numbers, we know that those millions of dead number that shocked everybody and primed this whole response has proven to be false and bad modeling. Turns out models are often bad and need to be redone. That happens all the time in science. But also if I was to come to President Mike Day and say, Mr. President, it appears that 100,000 people, well, just for funsies, it appears that 100,000 people may die from this year, maybe 120, maybe 80. We're not really sure. Are you prepared to crater the entire economy for 100,000 people? And you're going to say, no, you're just not going to do it.
Well, hold on a second here. Do you know what the numbers are for death by medical mistake in this country every year?
Oh, it's got to be a lot.
It's about 250,000. They almost killed me. They almost killed me with potassium. Almost gave me a heart attack.
They almost killed you with potassium?
Yeah, they overdosed me on potassium. I almost had a heart attack. I was having a heart attack. What's up, girl? My dog just came in here. Next door, Mark Robbins, who had been shot in the eye, another SEAL, was OD'd. He almost went into respiratory and pulmonary failure because they gave him too many narcotics. The guy that co-authored my book wrote a book about a guy named Ryan Job who was killed in a hospital.
Yeah.
And then they tried to cover it up.
Right. Yeah.
So that's you can't just throw a number out there of deaths without putting it in context.
Sure.
I mean, the mortality rate for influenza and pneumonia in this country alone was at 14%. The CDC on their own page says that an epidemic requires a 7.1 mortality rate. The mortality rate for coronavirus is not even 3%.
No.
We're responding to an epidemic / pandemic that's not even by definition an epidemic. It's fucking
by their own definition. Yeah. Which doesn't mean you minimize the risk and everything else. You take precautions. Maybe you do put the plexiglass up and you get out the proper, the masks and the testing. But you're right. We've the government has not come out strong with this.
If you're at risk, you deal with it. You don't think,
Okay, fair enough.
and quite honestly, most of the people that are at risk have put themselves in the at-risk position because of their diets, and a lot of that's because they don't know.
Right.
But if you're obese, if you have diabetes, if you've been healthy all your life and you're just old, and you have like COPD, things that make you high risk.
Yeah.
Hey, don't make me wear a mask that doesn't work to begin with.
Don't destroy my business.
No, they flushed everybody. There's what are they saying? Like 30% of the small businesses won't even be able to come back.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's devastating in terms of small business. Well,
But
so we're going to run out of time.
Walmart's
We got
still
Michael
open.
Reagan. Say it again.
But Walmart's still open.
Yeah, Walmart's still open. Yeah.
Home Depot, Lowe's.
Home Depot, Lowe's, the dispensary.
I know it's like an odd comparison too. When we're talking about this, but as I'm driving up here, I'm listening on the radio about the Rams stadium, the most expensive stadium, and they're asking for supplemental money to help them bail out the stadium. And I just think to myself, like, yeah, I get it. The NFL and sports it's important to American culture, but what the fuck are our priorities?
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to shut a program down, that it should be second thought. And then in the same newsreel, they're talking about the homeless people in LA living under the Sepulveda Bridge who are breeding coronavirus, and they're afraid that they're a cause to the pandemic. I mean, it's hard to wrap my head around this sometimes. The logic of,
you know what?
Again, elected officials, policymakers, and senior business leaders that really, I think, are the ones that influence our politicians.
When the apocalypse happens, those people living under the bridge are going to be some of the survivors.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, so give us one more real quick blurb about your books before we sign off, and then let's have you come back on once you've got some time and you're officially running for governor. But tell us about the book and where we can get it.
Okay, so it releases 9 June. It's ready for pre-order. You can go to my website at perfectlywounded.com. There's a link on there to take you to the to where they can be pre-ordered. My social media is not all straight yet. You can find me on Instagram at Mike Day 5326. All
right. Yeah, get the pre-ordered book. And Mike, there's some special edition books as well too, right? That you guys are going to do?
Yeah, I'm trying to work on that stuff. I've never done this before, so the idea is to kind of make a replica of my body armor and gear, and maybe have it come with a coin. And then I want to put like 27 pieces of lead in there, so people can see
what it was. Yeah. And then when you do your book tour, let's get you in my hometown because they would love to have you and sell a shitload of books when you come to the Bay Area.
Sounds good, man. As soon as California opens it up.
Well, yeah, there is that. We're getting there, man. We're getting there. We're taking it easy. We like to be safe. All right. Well, listen, thank you very much. I appreciate you. I'm gonna let Scott say bye.
Yeah, man. Hey, pre-order on Amazon. Already there, man. We love you. Looking forward to it coming out, man. It's a great work. If you're listening right now, go to Amazon, pre-order Perfectly Wounded by Mike Day and Robert Vera. It's an amazing read. I was so fortunate you and Bob asked me for a blurb and to read the manuscript already, man. Just a phenomenal job. You know how much I love your work, and we love you guys. So
yeah, you're on the cover.
Great things about you in the book. So good luck.
You're on the cover of the book, he said.
No,
you're on the cover.
No, you're on the jacket.
Oh, the jacket.
Jacket,
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right,
All right, man, take care.
All right, out of here.